Hello and welcome to the programme. Theresa May has been granted another Brexit extension, but not the one she came to Brussels asking for. EU leaders have agreed to delay the UK's withdrawal from the EU until October the 31st, and they plan to review the extension in June. European Council President Donald Tusk took to Twitter moments ago to confirm the extension before heading to meet with Theresa May for confirmation that the UK backs the delay. Well, let's cross to our political editor, Darren McCaffrey, and he's joining us from Brussels with more on this agreement. So, a second extension now. What can you tell us, Darren?
Yeah, as you say, just after midnight, after hours of discussions, the EU 27 seem to finally have come to an agreement of an extension to the Article 50 process, to Brexit, essentially, as you say, until the end of October, Halloween, with a review in June. Now, the question that raises is why the end of October? Why not the end of the year, or indeed to March of next year, as many had thought was possible? Well, that comes down in part to Emmanuel Macron, who was pretty insistent in the room tonight that Brexit should not have a long extension, continually worried about the disruption the UK could cause to future European Union business, and also not wanting the bandwidth of the European Union to be taken up continuously by Brexit. In saying that, clearly this review is also quite interesting in the sense that it would potentially allow the European Union in a couple of months' time to assess whether Britain was filling the criteria it has put in place, the conditions that it is not a disruptor, that it has taken part in the European Union elections, in order to essentially see whether the extension should carry on to the end of October. But also in part, I think it's not necessarily bad news for the British Prime Minister Theresa May either, Isabel, and I use that, and I say that because ultimately that's what she was asking for. She was asking for the deadline of June 30th. And ultimately, while it is a review, in effect, it becomes a deadline in itself. So we end up yet again with another Brexit extension. We've had the 29th of March, April 12th, which was due to be on Friday. Now we've got essentially to the end of June, or possibly the end of October. It is another exercise in some ways of kicking the can down the road, because ultimately we're not actually any closer to a deal at Westminster, a deal that could in effect bring an end to the divorce settlement between the EU and the UK.
That's right. And Darren, back in the EU, you're talking about Emmanuel Macron. So he wasn't very keen for a long extension. How difficult was it for the EU to ultimately come up with this October 31st date?
It clearly was quite difficult. It must be said, up until now, there has been unity in the European Union pretty much to a large degree when it comes to this Brexit process. They may be divided on a hell of a lot of other issues, but they have been pretty united on Brexit. It is clear tonight that there were deep divisions within the Council. We know that around 17 countries argued for a much longer extension along the lines of what Donald Tusk had asked for. Other countries seemed open to the idea, but it was the French, it was Emmanuel Macron who fought pretty hard to have this shorter six-month extension with a review in June. And I think there is frustration among many EU leaders that there could not be, and there wasn't essentially unity on this issue, and there was not a long extension. In saying that, I think they will be glad that they have given a bit more political room to the UK to try and work out whether it can reach a settlement, a deal that can get through Westminster, but also it gives I suppose the room in some sense to potentially restart this process again. I come back to October 31st is just after the party conference season in the UK, with suggestions that is when we could see a new Conservative leader, a new Prime Minister in Britain, but it is also when there will be a new Commission here in Brussels. So working on the proviso, and it is entirely possible that this Brexit process has not moved on fundamentally in the next 6 months, that there is potential for a restarting of this process with a new British Prime Minister and a new Commission President and a new Commission here in Brussels, and that in 6 months' time we could be starting this all again. But be in no doubt that yes, we have an extension to this process again, but the fundamentals have not changed. We are still no closer to Britain in many regards actually getting a deal that can get the UK out of the European Union.